Thank you, Adam, and thank you to my colleagues, and thank you everybody for being here today. You know, we have a Republican majority, and yet we are on the verge of a $2 trillion deficit with a Republican majority and about to spend $7 trillion this fiscal year. We don't need a Republican majority to do that.
Right.
January was about us not doing what we've always done and expecting we'd get a different result. January was about us, when we have the majority, not passing major spending bills with a majority of Democrat votes. And yet we had a coalition of conservative policymaking going on through April until the Failed Responsibility Act. And what was the Failed Responsibility Act? That was when Republicans and Democrats came together, minus the people behind me, came together and raised the debt ceiling to an unlimited amount through January of 25, as much as we in Congress can come together and gleefully spend until January of 25. And there's one thing Congress is good at, it's spending money. And that's why we have, as others have noted, $32 trillion national debt, on our way to 33, probably 35 by the time this Congress is finished, a year and a half from now, over $100,000 per American citizen. With a Republican majority. When we campaigned on fiscal responsibility, when we campaigned on cutting our spending, when we campaigned on fighting for Republican policies and reversing the harmful Biden, Pelosi, Schumer policies under which the American people are suffering today. And the days of reckless spending without consequence are over. We're seeing record inflation, 40-year high inflation because of the massive spending. We're seeing interest rates raised in a futile attempt to combat the inflation that we've caused through our spending, and those interest rates are further crushing the American people. And yes, we're seeing our credit rating lowered for only the second time in history, which further causes interest rates to go up and further oppresses the American people. And yet we cannot get our Republican conference to come together and pass 12 appropriation bills on time that cut our spending, with only the modest goal of going to 2022 levels overall, 2019 pre-COVID for non-defense discretionary. That is a modest, embarrassing low $115 billion cut when we're running a $150 billion monthly deficit.
Yeah.
There's some disagreement on how far we should go. There's some disagreement on what policies to put first, but fight for something for the American people.
Hear, hear.
They didn't elect a Republican majority to cave to the Democrats once again. I call on the Speaker. We call on the Speaker to be a historic, transformational Speaker that for once stares down the White House, stares down the Senate, and stands strong for the American people and says no. We can pass all of our appropriation bills, maybe not by September 30, unless, you know what, we work. You guys are ready to work the last week in September, right? Don't send us home that last week in September. Keep us here to pass our spending bills, advancing Republican priorities, and cutting back to the pre-COVID levels. And then if Schumer wants another Schumer shutdown, let him have it and let him defend it to the American people. So I stand here with my colleagues today in solidarity to fight for the American people.